let's move on. You want to go to Syria? Okay.
So the ceasefire that the United Nations has agreed on, what is the U.S. understanding about what part or parts of Syria that ceasefire covers?
So let me refer you to the resolution itself, which I have a copy of, and I can read part of that. But the resolution itself, the ceasefire that 15 countries, members of the United Nations Security Council, all unanimously agreed upon, calls for a ceasefire throughout Syria. There are some exemptions. Exemptions to al-Nusra Front, al-Qaeda, and also ISIS. Okay, though they are considered the groups and entities that coalition partners and others can go after. Other than that, the UN agreed to, the Security Council agreed to a ceasefire. That happened on Saturday. It took far too long to get that ceasefire into effect. We've been calling for quite some time, as have many other countries. I want to point out some of the countries that are backing that ceasefire: China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, the United States, Bolivia, Cote d'Ivoire, Equatorial Guinea, Ethiopia, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Netherlands, Peru, Poland, and Sweden. All of those countries coming together to call for a ceasefire in Syria. Why are they doing that? Well, we are watching what is going on, and I spoke to this on Thursday, the horrific attacks taking place against civilians in eastern Ghouta. It is not too dissimilar from what happened last year in Aleppo. It is horrific. I will point out, though, that Russia supported this ceasefire. Russia is certainly not adhering to this ceasefire. They're not adhering to the ceasefire because they continue to sponsor and back Bashar al-Assad's government. That is tragic. As a result of that, we are seeing innocent civilians, and you've all seen the video. Many of you are parents. You have seen the children who are suffering and dying. You've seen the innocent people doing that. The world has come together. The world has said that this has to stop. I find it ironic when Russia calls for a humanitarian road, a humanitarian zone. You know what the humanitarian zone is? It's the entirety of Syria, not just one little area that Russia cutely tries to carve out. It should be the entire country, because that is what Russia and those 15 other countries agreed to in the UN Security Council resolution.
You said the entirety of Syria. Would you agree that the district of Afrin is in Syria?
The district, yes. If you look at a map, it is certainly within Syria.
So
yes.
then when Turkey says that it is not bound by the ceasefire and is free to continue going after the Kurds there, would you agree that Turkey is violating the UN ceasefire?
I would encourage Turkey to go back and read this resolution, the unanimously agreed upon resolution on Saturday, and I will quote some of this to you. I won't read the entire thing to you. Demands that all parties cease hostilities without delay and engage immediately to ensure full and comprehensive implementation of this demand by all parties for a durable humanitarian pause for at least 30 consecutive days throughout Syria to enable the safe, unimpeded, and sustained delivery of humanitarian aid and services and medical evacuations of the critically sick and wounded in accordance with applicable international law. Hold on, let me get to that point. It affirms that the cessation of hostilities shall not apply to military operations against the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, ISIL, also known as Daesh, al-Qaeda, and al-Nusra Front, and all other individuals, groups, undertakings, and entities associated with al-Qaeda and ISIL and other terror groups as designated by the Security Council. So I think the resolution was clear here in naming exactly which groups are considered to be exempt from the ceasefire.
So if our NATO ally Turkey is going to flout this UN ceasefire, then why should Russia feel more bound by it than Turkey does?
Russia signed on to this. That's first of all. Russia signed on to this as an entity that agreed to this UN Security Council resolution. Let me remind you also that Russia had agreed to help years ago Syria with getting rid of its chemical weapons. Russia has failed to do that. I want to point that out as well. Turkey is more than welcome to go back and read the exact text of this UN Security Council resolution, and I would suggest that they do so. Okay.
Can we move on?
We probably have a few more questions. Laura, go right ahead.
Would you encourage Turkey to reach some sort of ceasefire in Afrin?
I would encourage Turkey to go and read this resolution, see what the world and the international community is saying about this.